Welcome, everybody, to Review Please Video Game Edition. I'm your host, Jesus, and with me, as always, is L. L? What game are we talking about today?
Hey, Jesus. So today on this first initial episode of Review Please Video Game Edition, we're going to be talking about the video game Amnesia: The Bunker.
Hell yeah. Also, this technically isn't our first version of
Oh, yeah.
Review Please Video Game Edition. I did a video back in January.
That's right.
It's August now. Well,
Yeah.
August at the time of this video going up. And I did Dead Space back in January. So
Yep.
this is technically the second episode.
Ah, there you go. Yeah.
So there you go. But we have a new structure to this. It's not just going to be me rambling about a game for 5 minutes or so. Instead, it's going to be a discussion between Elle and I on games that we've been playing through GamePass. So what we're doing every month is picking one single game to play for that month and then talk about it. And we are only doing games from GamePass. Isn't that right, Elle?
Yeah, that's right. Only Game Pass.
I like the deadpan there that you did. Thanks. No excitement there, whatever.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. But today we're going to be talking about Amnesia: The Bunker. And currently it has a 76 on OpenCritic. And IGN's Lena Hafer gave it an 8 out of 10, saying, "I can't say Amnesia is still a groundbreaking horror franchise like it was at the beginning. The larger story it was building has already been played out with Rebirth, but Amnesia: The Bunker proves that smaller anthology-style episodes within its universe can still bring the tension and the scares. And Frictional's bag of tricks is far more exhausted when it comes to getting our hearts pounding and making us carefully consider how to use the limited tools available to us. It's not an unmissable experience, but as an Amnesia fan, it definitely sated my appetite for some gut-churning horror and moody, bleak storytelling." So, well, as we dive into our thoughts in this, what is your history with Amnesia?
So I played one of the earlier Amnesias. I want to say, if I look it up, I think it was Amnesia, the one that people didn't like too much. What is it? It is, I have it pulled up here.
The pigs or whatever?
Yeah, the one with the pigs. Yeah, so A Machine for Pigs. I'm familiar with the with Amnesia: The Pigs as well. A Machine for Pigs, and I am familiar with Amnesia Rebirth, but I know that one isn't really too favorable. People kind of didn't really like the main character. And then I'm a little familiar with Amnesia: The Dark Descent, but not too well. And so really my history with it starts with Amnesia: A Machine for Pigs. That's where it starts.
Nice. Mine is I never really played Amnesia. I've always been familiar with Amnesia. My dad was obsessed with The Dark Descent for some reason.
Really?
I can't remember. I remember him like telling me all the time, because my dad would randomly talk about video games, and he would go, "Oh, you need to play The Dark Descent. You need to play The Dark Descent. I'll buy it for you. I'll send it to you on Steam." And he did, and then I just never got around to playing it. So I have it. I have it.
Interesting.
And then I also have Rebirth on the PlayStation, because like it apparently has a easy like trophy-listic do.
Okay.
I want to say, and I like my intention was to get to like play it and get the trophies and stuff, and then I just never got around to it because I was just like, whatever. I'm not the biggest horror fan, so
yeah.
Amnesia just doesn't really do anything for me. But I'm familiar with it. I know of the name, and I know people like it, and that's about my history with it.
Nice.
So what are your top level thoughts?
So I'll tell you this, kind of going off a little bit of what you said. I'm not super big into horror games all that well, just because I scare very easy in horror games, and sometimes it's a little difficult. It's the same way with horror films, depending on like the subject matter. Sometimes I do enjoy them, but when it's like very horror, it's a little difficult to play or to watch. And so this one, it was a difficult little bit of a playthrough, but I was able to play through it. But I'll say this is my top level thoughts, that I'm gonna try to give this like a sandwich of good, what I didn't like, and then also what I did enjoy. Um, so I'll tell you this with Amnesia, the bunker. What I enjoyed a lot was that, kind of similar to the other Amnesia games, they what they do great is put you in very tense situations where you have to work with so little and try to survive. So they do a really great job of scaring you and keeping that horror element up and just keeping you tense. Because as I played through this game, the time that I put in, it's just I was very tense the whole time because I know that things are gonna come out or things are gonna pop out and you're just gonna jump scares or just whatever gonna happen. But regardless of that, I think what they did with this, they did a good job of I guess of timing those scares and those kind of like tense moments. I'll say one of the things that I didn't like as much was this story is very much a very short story that's a part of the Amnesia, I guess, universe, you would say. And it didn't feel like too much for me, but also with saying that, the caveat with saying that is that I'm not too in deep with the lore of Amnesia, of the world of building that it does, and so maybe to me it didn't seem all that deep, or it didn't really all seem that I guess structured that well to me. But that was just my experience. And then to kind of end it here, I'll say that what they do well, which also is kind of a horror tactic that I enjoy, is like you almost at times feel a little helpless in this game as far as like what you can and you cannot do when you're trying to defend yourself against the beast. And it's like it's good because it plays into that horror aspect, but as well it just puts you in like I don't like that feeling that it gives you, like that helpless feeling, like you have no power here. You're kind of like that you're kind of at the mercy of hopefully being able to escape, which is into that horror spectrum, which is a good thing. But it's what it does good is just it's like at times with video games where you have like all these weapons and you're like, oh, I can get out of this. In this game, what it does well is like, I don't know if I'm going to get out of this, or I don't know if I'm going to be able to solve this and make it to the end. And so, but those are my top level thoughts of it. What about you?
So like I mentioned, not a fan of horror games that much. With that said, I almost feel the opposite of you in every way. Like,
yeah,
the game didn't scare me at all.
Interesting. Okay.
It's a lot of it is fumbling around in the dark. Occasionally something jumps out at you. And after like the initial like jump scares, like they scared me at first, but then I started noticing like, oh, there's a hole over there, or like the little tunnel things that the little beast would come out of and stuff. And so I just went into like every room expecting something to jump out at me, and at that point I just like stopped getting scared. I do like the atmosphere of the game. I think the atmosphere, this World War I trench warfare stuff that's happening, being in this bunker, I think they captured the world really well. The ambiance, like the sounds, because as you're going through the bunker, you can hear like fighting happening outside, and like the explosions. And I think this is where the game should have kept its focus more on. Like I just found the beast aspect, this monster aspect, kind of intrusive. Like you're in World War I. Trench warfare was by all accounts horrible. Like just from a mental state, from a physical state. Like I mean, it's a war, and I feel like that is more scary to me than a monster running around the bunker killing people. That was apparently from like ancient Roman ruins that this trench stuff was built upon and crap. And I was just like, I quickly got over that the monster aspect, and I was more interested in this. Oh, I'm in this bunker. There's no power. I'm just trying to survive. I was more interested in just the psychological side of it than the physical side. And I think Amnesia does a really good job with playing with that psychological aspect, but then it gets marred by this monster that's popping out at you, that's stalking you through the dark and stuff. And then I just found it burdensome to like, you get the little flashlight that you can wind up. And I mean, you get like other ways to like have light But
Hmm.
I was just like, I don't want to keep winding this stupid thing. I'd just rather walk around in the dark at that point. And so that's what I did. I just walked around in the dark because I was like, this is just stupid. Um, I think, correct me if I'm wrong. Is this the first Amnesia game that gave you like a weapon?
I think so, if I remember correctly. I'm
Yeah.
not too sure on that, but I could be wrong. But I think it is. Yeah.
Yeah. And that wasn't really useful too much either. So,
Yeah. It's interesting because it's like with this, I'll say that with you talking about the weapon, even though you had a weapon, it almost felt useless at times.
yeah.
Just because of how scarce bullets were and trying to find
Yeah.
a bullet. And I mean, you're kind of it introduces that to you in the beginning where they're saying there's a when you're first meeting that French soldier and he's telling you like, hey, here's this gun, please, um unalive me and
Yeah.
go get the bullets, they're over there. And you go in there and they show like I guess some sort of like cartridge that looks like, oh, it's gonna be a bunch of bullets in here, I'm gonna have like 6 shots or whatever, and really it's just
Yeah.
one or two, and you're just like,
Yeah.
oh boy, it's like you have to like really make them count. And so the game
Yeah.
is kind of like, well, if you do want to shoot something, then it better be worth it, or whatever you're trying to shoot.
Yeah. Yeah. And I never really shot anything throughout the whole thing. So, I mean, unless it like required me to.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, the game itself, everything about it's just fine.
Yeah.
That's the most I can say about it, is that everything about it is just fine. And I'm sure like the IGN review mentions that if you're an Amnesia fan, you're gonna enjoy this game.
Oh yeah.
Since I'm not an Amnesia fan, I didn't particularly enjoy it.
I
I
get that,
thought
yeah.
the game itself was okay. I see what they're trying to do, and I'm like, this will work for a certain set of people. It's just not for me. And I think
Yeah.
that's the biggest drawback for me with it, is just that it's not for me.
I get that.
And not everything is meant to cater to each individual person, because nothing can.
Yeah.
I'm a fantasy sci-fi person. That's what I want out of my video games. So Amnesia is like pretty far away from that. I mean, I guess you could say it's a little bit of sci-fi because of the monster stuff, but
Yeah.
I
I could say that.
but yeah, the other aspect that I did enjoy are the notes and stuff. I do find I don't know if you enjoy this. I love reading in video games. I know that's weird to say. I love it when I get like it's the same reason why I like Dishonored and Deus Ex, because there's like a bunch of little notes, emails and stuff that you can read. And the Amnesia the Bunker, you're kind of like piecing together the story through notes that you find. And I do like that sort of mystery aspect. But as more is revealed about what the beast is, how the beast came about, how the monster came about, I was just like, okay, now we're just getting into some cliche monster crap.
Yeah.
Because it's I don't want to. We don't need to reveal the secret, because I do think like the twist is important to the story.
Yeah.
So I won't. We won't touch on it here, but like the twist is revealed through the little notes that you find, and a lot of the notes also tell you like what you need to do.
Exactly. Yeah.
It gives you like little quests. Go, oh, I need to go to this section of the bunker to get this item, so I can go over to this other section of the bunker to get another item, and then I got to go do this so I can open the door to the bunker, get the hell out of this bunker.
Yeah.
So like that's pretty much the structure, and then as you go through the bunker, you find little things. The other compliment is that the game's relatively short. You can beat it in like 4 hours or something like that, 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah.
I will say I did not escape the bunker, sadly. I got too tired of everything, where I was just like, I'm not having fun, I'm not enjoying this, so I did not complete this game. But I went and watched watched a video of how it ends and stuff, because like after like 3-ish hours of playing, I guess getting close to the end, I was just like, I don't really have any drive to
finish.
Like,
Yeah.
I kind of saw where the story was going, and I was like, I guess that's cool and interesting. I'm tired of fumbling around in the dark. The monster is not scaring me anymore. The psychological aspect of it that I enjoyed was losing its flavor with me, because I was just getting so used to just like all the noise and the just getting used to the noise and the way the audio is working in the game. I was just getting
Yeah.
used to it, and so it lost me where to the point that I was just like, I don't feel the need to complete this because I feel like I've gotten the experience and I don't necessarily need to finish this game. And I think it's a shame that I felt that way, but again, it's just Amnesia's not for me. So
Yeah, I get that definitely. It makes a lot of sense. I'll say to kind of chime on what you said. I think what this game did great was with those notes because it's definitely piecing together the story. And I'm a sucker for things like that in video games that kind of build the world and build the story and slowly reveal.
mhm,
It's like it's like reading a book that you're just trying to figure out what's going on, the mystery behind it.
yeah,
And like I get suckered into that, and like I get like pulled, not really suckered, but pulled into it to where I'm like, oh my god, like I'm like almost like I'm watching a TV show, and like you said, there's a twist in here, and then when you get to the twist, you're just like, oh,
yeah,
I mean, you can kind of tell what's gonna happen and
yeah,
everything, but I don't want to say anymore. But I think it does that great, especially with like the photos that you occasionally come across.
oh yeah, yeah, the photos,
Yeah, are crazy, and like it's very interesting. And so this game does that really well. And what I like about this that it's funny because or excuse me, it's not funny. It's just interesting to me because this is taking place during World War One in the middle of a trench war, which, like you said, historically it's a very like horrible part of like war, just being in those trenches. And then for the main character that you're playing, Henry, for him having to deal with that, and then to go in this bunker to all of a sudden be like, oh, there's a war going on upstairs, but there's also a war going on in this bunker with this monster, so to speak. And so
yeah,
it's like the comparison of that, or the duality of that, I guess you would say. And
yeah.
it's very interesting, and I like that aspect of it. Although myself, like you said, it is, I think, although I didn't necessarily just have a great time with it, I didn't enjoy as much. I thought it was, like you said, fine. I thought it was okay. I think that this is great for people who love Amnesia and they love that series, and they are into horror games. Then I think that if you want to play this game, this is perfect game for you. It's very short, bite-sized piece of it. Because I'm not familiar with the history of Amnesia as far as like the story and the lore, I'm not too sure how much of this adds to it. If maybe it's just its own little separate, story. And so but to kind of go back a little bit, I think that this would be great for those who love Amnesia, who are into horror games, and love almost. I mean, you have sort of moments where you combat with the monster or with another person, and it's kind of like you said, it's almost like searching through the dark. You're just kind of like
Yeah,
looking for
just
pieces to get out.
yeah, you're just fumbling around. And to point something out, Al, that you brought up, the
Mhm.
amnesias are not directly connected.
Oh, well, there you go.
However, they do contain references to the other games, according to
Okay.
according to a quick Google search from Reddit on a Reddit
Oh.
thing. So yeah, they're not directly connected, but they do reference each other and all that. So loosely
Okay.
connected, not quite. So
Nice.
um,
But yeah,
yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
no, I was gonna say, like I said, the chime once more that for me, I think that I'm not as I never get used to like horrors and stuff like
hmm
that. Like as far as like the beats that they play,
hmm
um, and so like I'm very much like probably I don't know if I'm in the minority, but I'm amongst a group of people who play or watch like stuff like that. Like I'm all in, and when I'm all in, I'm kind of just absorbed by it, and I'm just like at the whim of whatever
Yeah.
movie, show, video game, or whatever that's horror, and I just kind of like am constantly screaming or like being scared and jump scared and stuff. So, but yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, but for me, like, this is with horror in general, and this is why I don't enjoy horror. Um, Once I notice the pattern, and everything follows a pattern.
yeah,
Once I start
exactly.
noticing the pattern, it becomes less and less scary the more I experience it, and that's what happened with Amnesia: The Bunker. Like,
I get that.
I started noticing the pattern of like things that I was doing that would cause the beast to come out, the
Uh,
monster to come out and attack me. I would notice the holes in the wall and the ground and stuff, and I'd just be like, okay, I know what's going on. I know how to avoid the monster if I need to and stuff. And so it's like it happened very quickly for me too. And so it's, yeah, that's
yeah,
why I'm just like, it wasn't doing anything for me on that aspect. and it's the same with the like audio cues and just all
Yeah.
of that. There is a pattern to it that I was noticing that I was picking up on, to the point that I was just like, I'm noticing the pattern, and so now I have that disconnect, because now
Gotcha.
it's like I have that disconnect, and that's why it's not doing anything for me. Because I do get scared easily, like, but once my brain processes, okay, this is what's going on, this is how it's happening, this is what you got to avoid, then it like loses it for me. Like, happened with Dead Space when I first played
Yeah.
People say Dead Space is scary, and I've always, I guess it was scary the first time I played it. I don't remember if I was ever scared of Dead Space,
Yeah.
but like there was a pattern to Dead Space that I would pick up on, like even to this day, like with less so with the new version of Dead Space, but even then, knowing Dead Space, I was able to go into it and know when, okay, this is what I should expect, and I was pretty much on point every single time. And yeah, so Amnesia just wasn't. It's suffer. My playthrough of Amnesia suffered from the fact that I'm too analytical, I guess you could say.
Analytical or aware, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's why it ruined it for me, where I was just like, man. And like very few horror games have ever like scared me to begin with. The last horror game, the last time I was utterly terrified of a game, and it wasn't really the game itself. It was just because of what happened to me at the time. And this is going off a tangent here. I was at a friend's house. I was in high school. He was playing Fatal Frame. I don't know if you remember the series Fatal Frame.
Yeah.
And like it was 1:00 in the morning. I drifted off to sleep, and I think I woke up at some point. He was out of the room, and he had left Fatal Frame on. And when I looked at the TV, there was just like this ghostly vision girl thing that's freaked me the hell out. But that's because I was half asleep, and I was like 14, 15 years old, and I was half asleep, and I was like, what the hell is going on? Because I was alone in the dark room. That's the only reason. It was more of me being tired at the time and not expecting to see that on the screen when I woke up. So
that makes sense.
That was the last time I've been scared of, like, truly terrified of a game, and it wasn't really the game's fault. It was just my mental state being sleepy.
Gotcha.
So, anyways, that not really pertaining to Amnesia the Bunker here, but yeah,
that makes sense. No, I get that. I'm definitely kind of to put an end to this part. I know I'm much of a person when it comes to video games. My imagination tends to run away from me, and so I kind of with Amnesia, when I did play it, as I was playing it, my brain would always be like, oh, what's that noise? What's that? And then looking and kind of like building this world and getting lost in the world. And so I'd be like, oh my God, the terror in this world, this is so crazy. Oh my God, can you imagine if that happened in real life? And, and just, it kind of runs away with me of like, this is going to happen, or like seeing the monster when they first appear, you're just like, oh my God. And then just like, the what ifs more so. Yeah. And so I think that's why like, as hard as I try, I can never get out of that kind of like loop. And so I'm just like constantly like, this can happen. But yeah.
Yeah. So now, on our scale of skulls that we use.
Oh yeah.
Or do we want to bring that back here? Let's decide this on the podcast right now. Do we want to have the skull scale here?
I'd say, I mean, why not? This is just like our perspective of what we rate it. This isn't like we don't rate it in the like, this is law. This is what's correct. It's just kind of how we felt about it.
Okay. There you go. Behind the scenes, everybody gets to see the curtain because this is something we didn't talk about beforehand. On a scale of 1 to 5, and it has to be whole numbers, no 0.5s. It has to be a whole number. What would you rate this?
So, given the gameplay, its short episodic nature, which I think is a pro to it. Sound design, I think, is great. Besides, if you figure out the loop kind of like you did of just like the cues and stuff. Even though I'm not a big horror fan, as far as like a game, depending on what it is, long-winded answer. I say all that to say that with the story, the characters, and just the world building, I personally, out of 5 skulls, I'm going to give this a 2 skulls out of 5.
Wow. I I would I'd give it the same. 2 skulls out of 5. The sound design's great, like you said.
Yeah.
It just there wasn't a lot here for me in terms of what I want out of a video game. So
Yeah.
yeah, two seems right. I would, you know, I'd argue a 3
I was
because
gonna say that. Yeah.
I'd argue a 3 just because like since this game isn't for me, and I do recognize that that is an aspect of it, that a 3 would be reasonable, but based on my own personal feelings, a 2. So
All right.
like if I bring my own personal feelings to it, a 2, but like logically I think a 3. So I'm in that weird space. Where do I want to land? You know what? I'm gonna land on a 3 because I do think there's something here for folks that want to play a horror game. And if you're an Amnesia fan, you may probably love this game. And so yeah, I'm gonna take my personal feelings out of it and just say a 3.
So, with all that saying, I think I'm gonna bump it up to a 3 as well, just because that's what I was initially thinking, but I was kind of only thinking like with myself. But if I'm trying to think objectively, I don't want to say that this is just a bad game like for everyone. I don't think it's a bad game for everyone. Like you said, I think for people who love Amnesia or are fans of the series, or who are just fan of horror games, I think they will enjoy this. And to be honest, they'll probably be like, "This is a 4, this is a 5," so to speak. Because they enjoy it that much more. But I think that for the average everyday gamer, going into it, I think a 3 is probably actually better suited for this. But like I said, even though we're giving it a 3, I still think that doesn't take away for those that who will love the game.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
I think that, like you said, the sound design alone is amazing. I think just the way that it handled the structure of the plot, to me, could have been done better. And so I think besides that, and as far as like just the gameplay loop, I think could be stronger. But like I said, I think a 3 is probably better suited. And I think for those who do love Amnesia or love horror games, they will probably be like, whatever, this is 4 or 5, whatever. Or they might agree 3 as well. But yeah, I think a 3 is better suited for it.
Yeah, I agree. You pretty much echoed it. I would just be copying you if I said I'd be saying the same thing over again. So, but yeah. And then because this is another thing that we do for those who are new to the Review Please series, if you're, we have the Review Please animated version that we've been doing for what, 7 months now?
Yeah, 7 months now. That's crazy. Wow, we watched 7 anime series.
Yeah, I mean we're going to be watching we would have had 13 by the end because we did a special episode.
That's right.
That's coming out in a couple of weeks. But for this, we tend to rank games. Technically, this is the first one.
Yeah.
Get first game of our list. So this would, by proxy, be number 1. However, since I did review Dead Space back in January, it is a singular episode and then disappeared for several months, I'm going to make this number 2 on my list, on my ranking list.
Okay.
Dead Space is number 1. Amnesia is number 2.
Hilarious. Of course, because I didn't review Dead Space, this will be my number 1 until more come on the list. And so, if anything, next month, it might not be number 1. But hey, that's just me. Hilarious.
Fine, I'll take Dead Space off the list. It'll just be Amnesia number 1. God.
So funny.
Anyways, on the next episode of Review Please Video Game Edition, we're going to be talking about Arcade Paradise, and we will also have special episodes for Sea of Stars and Starfield. So be on the lookout for those 2 reviews as well. They should hopefully come out in August, or not August, September. Yeah. Should hopefully come out if we have time. Starfield will most likely be October just because of how big that game is.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It sucks that they're coming out right next to each other.
Man, yeah, it's so crazy. It's like one right after the other.
Yep. Freaking Baldur's Gate comes out on Tuesday or something. Yeah, Tuesday. And I'm gonna be playing Baldur's Gate. So Baldur's Gate 3.
Nice.
Anyways.
Nice.
We're not going to review that. I'm just going to play it. Anyways,
Nice.
wind us down, L.
Well, everybody, thanks for tuning in to the second episode of Review Please Video Game Edition, where this episode we reviewed Amnesia the Bunker. Make sure, just to reiterate what Jesus said in the beginning, all these episodes will be from video games that are on Xbox GamePass. And so if you want to play along with the episode, just, you can, if you have Game Pass, download the game, play it along, and, chime in the comments if you feel the same, or if you're like, you're wrong, this is actually a perfect 5, or, or it's a 1 or something, chime in the comments. But you can always catch Review Please Video Game Edition here on our YouTube at Respawn Please Podcast. Make sure to subscribe, hit the bell icon to be notified whenever we have new videos drop. And like he said earlier in the episode, this is a monthly series, so every month we'll take a game. So we'll drop it every month, an episode every month. Other than that, make sure to follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Respawn Please Podcast. And make sure to, if you're want to hear more about video game news, video game reviews, or anything like that, tune in to Respawn Please Podcast, which video version's available here on our YouTube, as well as available everywhere you get podcasts. We also have Review Please Anime Edition, where if you're into anime, we review animes. And we also have Relax and Respawn, another pod where we just talk about our daily lives outside of this, behind the scenes, so to speak. So tune in, follow, subscribe, do what you must if you like any of those, and we'll catch you next month.
Bye.
Bye.